If you have a hunch that maybe in my relationship I'm the drama, then you're in the right place, because when we are suspicious or we think that we're the drama, that's a great sign. I actually am really grateful for that in those times that I've realized that, because when we're aware of it, when we're aware of our self sabotage, that's actually how we can change it. So, really excited. It's a fun topic, and make sure to stick around towards the end because I'll share exactly some actionable steps and things that you can do to stop the self sabotage and actually work on building your own self trust. So, super fun episode. And if you're new here, I'm Claire, and I love helping anxious, overachieving girlies who are in relationship or dating that just want to feel peace, that want to feel secure and safe in their relationship, because I got you. I've been there, all right? And we're doing it together. So let's dive in, because I was really thinking about this episode, and as on my walk and multiple walks, thinking about this episode. And the reality is I've really, at all stages of different relationships and phases of dating and relationship, I've really struggled with self-sabotage, because guess what? I'm human. And so I have a lot of repetitions in working through self-sabotage and what it looks like and the signs. So I think the best place for me to start would be in my 20s. I was a serial monogamist. I was in serious relationship after serious relationship, like basically consecutively. That's a whole different story. But basically, in my 20s, there was a series of 2-year relationships, like two, two, two. So I was with 3 different people, 2-year relationships. And by the 3rd breakup, it was really creepy, the exact words that they were all saying as the relationship was ending. And I almost in my mind felt like, how are they talking to each other? How are they saying the exact same thing? I know they're not calling each other or texting. They don't even know each other. So it was a sign for me. It was very subtle that, oh my goodness, that if they're saying all the same thing, maybe I'm the common denominator. And hint, hint, I was totally the common denominator. And the thing that they were all saying was that basically they felt like they were working so hard and they were all really trying, and it just was never good enough for me. And at the time in those breakups, I was like, yeah, it wasn't good. It was not good enough. You're not doing a good enough job. And now, hindsight, I'm realizing that was actually because I never felt that I wasn't good enough. And so in relationship, we just project all over the place. So instead of working through my own not enoughness, I would blame my partner for not doing enough, for not being enough, like not all these things of not enough. And it was a real slap in the face by the 3rd one. I mean, I spent 6, 8 years with these consecutive relationships, them not working out. And it was a really big, subtle sign that turned into a big, blaring sign that I was self-sabotaging by really getting in my own way and of what was my highest potential. So self-sabotage can look like when we experience resistance. And there's a wonderful book, The War of Art, and it talks about resistance in a creative sense. But I also feel that it's very applicable for a romantic relationship, because the book really talks about how we get in our own way from our highest purpose. And I believe that as humans, we are made for relationship. We are programmed and we're social. So having relationship is part of our DNA. So when I looked at these different breakups, I was realizing that I had my own resistance and getting in my own way through having this projection and perfectionistic mindset with these different people, that I was actually, by not dealing with my own not enoughness, I was projecting that into my relationships, and that was my self-sabotage. All right. So the resistance is a subtle sign, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that was really about the perfection. I was really perfectionistic around that. Now, another way that I was subtly self-sabotaging myself was when a friend of mine, a dear friend, she's still a friend, I was dating these different people, and I was dating multiple people, and I had one really kind of blow up in my face. He literally just ghosted out of nowhere. Things were going great. And she looked at me straight in the eye and said, "I think your picker is broken." And I, to this day, I was really offended at the time. I was like, oh, like what? But I realized, oh my gosh, there's truth in that. Something is, and how I'm selecting people, something's not right. My picker, how I'm picking guys, something isn't right. And that was the subtle self-sabotage in that was I really wasn't allowing myself to date people who are worthy. At that time, I had a really low bar. I just was like, are you a person that has a job? And I mean, it was really low. I'm not going to brag here, but it was not good. But when I look back, that subtle sign of I couldn't figure it out, I couldn't really first of all, I didn't even realize that my picker was broken. And then this other piece around confusion. So confusion is actually a form of self-sabotage. It's a form of resistance because our ego, when it's in a pattern that it likes, and your ego's job is to protect you, okay? The ego is the same kind of voice that says, that's a really dark alley. You probably shouldn't walk down that. It's that's like one version of it, but it's also in our everyday life. Our ego is there to protect us, to keep us safe. And in that, we do the same pattern. And when universe offers us these different opportunities to see things differently, our ego goes, no. I want you to go back to the normal thing that you do, aka the comfort zone. So it will make us be confused. We will get confused because that's the self-sabotage. We can't see, I couldn't see, my picker is broken. It was really hard for me to kind of break out of that. And it took me many dates to break out of realizing, I'm self-sabotaging by not picking men that are worthy or just not great guys because I was confused, and I would confuse myself and overthink it as a form of self-sabotage. So as I was starting to date, I just was figuring it out. I was very confused around who I should be dating, what it should look like, what it should feel like, and just thinking myself into a spiral. So confusion is a form of self-sabotage. Now, as I was dating and getting out there after these consecutive breakups, I had this also realization that another subtle form of self-sabotage was I was looking at my sister who met her husband. She did not date anybody until I think she was like 24 or 25 when she met my brother-in-law. She never had an official boyfriend until she met her husband. And so in my mind, I was thinking, oh my goodness, that's how it's supposed to be. All right. And this even started in high school. I mean, I literally became official with a guy, and I thought, because I saw my sister's older, this example, that, oh my goodness, I have to make this work with this person that I met in high school because he's supposed to be the one. And now looking back, that was such a powerful form of a mindset, a thought, and self-sabotage because I was comparing my relationships and really getting down on myself. And that was a form of self-sabotage because that just, me not really breaking out of this pattern was a form of self-sabotage. I was thinking, okay, the next guy is going to be the one. I keep messing up. I keep breaking up. So I need to make sure that the next one is it. And just that mindset, imagine the pressure that any person would feel if they were dating me. That even on the first date, in the back of my mind, subconsciously, I'm thinking, this is the one. I got to make this work. All right. So subconsciously, our self-sabotage happens when we try to compare, and we compare what somebody else is doing. We compare on our own past. So comparison is also a form of self-sabotage because we think, I can never get that, or I have to get that. I have to get that to feel right. That's also a form of self-sabotage. Now, here's the self-sabotage that I go back to again and again, and it's just, I think about how powerful it was to meet my husband and overcome this self-sabotage. Now, I'm not proud of what I'm about to say, okay? Not proud of it at all, But when I was really on the hunt, I was, mid-30s, I was ready, okay? I was ripe. I was ripe. I was ready to meet my person. And I had, my expectations. They should be 6 foot tall, 6 figures, big, I thought that's okay, that's my standard. That's my standard. It's my expectation. And that was 100% some self-sabotage, okay? Because it really, when we think about self-sabotage, it is having this perfect standard. Perfection is a form of self-sabotage, all right? So I would immediately dismiss anybody on Tinder or wherever I was dating out in public if they didn't meet that standard. Because in my mind, the perfect guy would be 6 foot, 6 figures, all the things, 6-pack abs. That's a good one. 6 foot, 6 figure, 6-pack abs. Okay, that literally was my standard. Now, as that wasn't working, because FYI, vanity expectations and standards don't work. They're not going to work. I mean, they honestly, I might eat my own foot here, but they probably do work, but are you happy? Like work is a very open definition. Are you actually happy in that relationship? So as I started to shift and I realized, oh my gosh, this perfectionism that I'm desiring from the perfect guy, or I want the perfect guy, that's self-sabotage. So I shifted that. And opened my realm of awareness. And in doing that, I met my husband, who I'm sad to say, and I'm not sad, he's perfect. He's 5'9", which, by the way, I found out literally last year that he told me initially when we met he was 5'10", and the truth is he's 5'9". Okay, still love him. He was not making 6 figures. He was a middle school math teacher for over 15 years. I mean, come on. Math teacher, works with kids. Like, I was a sucker. I mean, who doesn't love that? So if I hadn't broken out of the self-sabotage that he had to be perfect, I need to meet the perfect guy by these expectations that I had, that 6 foot, 6 figures, 6-pack abs, I never would have met my husband. Never would have met my person through the self-sabotage of perfection. Okay? So these are all the subtle signs, and there's definitely more. I probably need to do another episode on self-sabotage, because it's really, self-sabotage goes so, so deep. Now, here's what you can absolutely do to really work through self-sabotage. And the actionable thing is to work on your self-trust. And self-trust is just is on a similar vein how self-sabotage is really complex. Self-trust is simple, but not always easy, which is why I'm so excited to roll out my new program. We're going to slay our self-sabotage, and this method that I've created and that I've used for building self-trust is so chef's kiss. It is literally such a game changer. I'm so excited about this new program, because building self-trust and making promises and agreements with yourself is how you eliminate self-sabotage. When you can show up for yourself, when you can follow through, when you can keep the promises that you make to yourself, that inner power, it's like just, I've never done steroids or anything like that, but it's like getting a hit of juice to your self-esteem and your sense of self. So when you can build self-trust, when you have an actionable plan, when you have support in building self-trust, then your self-sabotage, bye-bye. And I didn't know this at the time, but now looking back, 100% what helped me reach each level and get past self-sabotage was directly related to my self-trust. So if you're interested, by the time this podcast drops, we'll probably be in the early bird phase of launching the program. So for early bird, there's a significant discount. So make sure you hit me up on the gram, on Instagram. And if you're interested in getting some time with me to build your self-trust so you can stop the self-sabotage, Slay is going to be an incredible program. I'm so excited about it. I seriously cannot wait. So you can do it, ladies. Stop the self-sabotage, build that self-trust. I believe in you. Mwah.